Hello, everyone, and welcome to eLearnChat, where it's all about learning. My name is Rick Zanotti, and I'm joined today by Harold Muliadi. He is acting as our co-host today and also our video producer. Leslie Price still couldn't make it. Also, this is a late show for her, so she couldn't make it. But do check out her charity. They do a great job. It is learnappeal.org.uk. And Dr. Susan Nash couldn't make it. She's been helping out recently. She couldn't make it today either. So here we are, and we've got a great guest, first time on the show, and all transparency, we're friends. I know Terry well, and I know her husband well. So it's great to have her on the show. We've got Teresa Kirkwood on. Here we go. This show is sponsored by Relate Corporation. Visit us at www.relatecasts.net. Thanks. And we are back in that center position of power. There she is. This is her show.
Hi, Rick. How are you?
Hi. Good. And you?
I'm good. You finally got me on the show.
We finally got her on the show. I'm going to call you Terry because I'm used to calling you Terry. And,
that's fine. No, Terry's good. Terry's good.
And Terry is actually
feel more relaxed.
Actually, her husband, who has been on the show many times recently. In fact, I think last year he was on 382 times. So you'll know him. Now, you'll know him as Ajay Pangankar. Now, you're saying, wait a minute, but I thought she was Terry Kirkwood. Yes, she decided somebody had to have one pronounceable name. So that was her. So,
and one Pangarkar in the family's enough.
That's enough, right? Yeah. No, Ajay's a great guy, and we're all good friends. It's so good to see you again, and we miss the fact that with all this COVID stuff, they haven't been able to fly out. They always fly out to do lynda.com and now LinkedIn Learning classes, which is very close to where we are. So we've had the chance of having lunches and dinners together. So we miss you guys.
Wonderful lunches and dinners, yeah.
Yep, we definitely miss you guys, and we haven't traveled anywhere either. You know, we're not allowed to go out the country. You can't even get into Canada now; they won't let us. So,
no, I know they won't let you guys in. They won't let us out. I know.
It's just crazy.
Hopefully, maybe next year we'll be able to get together.
I hope so. That'll be fun. It'll be fun. Yeah. Well, Terry, you've been in the training arena for a long time. You've actually been over 20 years in this.
20 years, that's right.
And you are the person usually behind the scenes. You do a lot of development work. You do a lot of work in e-learning. And you've worked with quite a few of the tools, and you've been through all that we've been through, you know, the good, the bad, and the indifferent.
And the ugly, yeah.
And the ugly. But, you know, you work a lot as an instructional designer, and you work with clients. And, you know, if you had to think of things in instructional design that are challenging, what would you cite as the things that bug you or challenge you, or just you go, why are we doing it this way?
Good question. A lot of it has to do with maybe the client's demand, how they want things done. And sometimes it's off of what we want or what we're expecting to deliver. So a lot of times they just don't want to kind of sort of understand how we deliver the content.
That's a common one. It's interesting because a lot of times, you know, bidding on e-learning projects or training projects, like movie projects, is sometimes tough because what people want or what they think they want, and then when they see it, what they really want are often two different things.
Right.
If you notice, a lot of people who want e-learning done, or let's say movies, I'll say videos too, because that goes in the same category. They have an idea in their brain, but they're not used to telling people what they want or how to explain it. Right. And that's where the challenge, that's when one challenge comes in for us. So we've got to be, you know, go, okay, okay, I think I'm getting it. Okay, there it goes. Okay, we've been transferred. Now we know what you want. And then they have, you know, or a Vulcan mind meld. Oh, the pain. No, okay.
I know. Yeah. Or working with their subject experts to get this a whole lot of content into this 1 hour course. And there's difference of opinions and how it's delivered. And there's always a challenge. And then eventually, when you work with them long enough, we tend to get on the same page and deliver a really good product at the end of it. But there's always challenges with what we do. It's not an easy industry that we're in to begin with. We're always misunderstood. So, but once we all get on the same page, our content gets delivered and everybody's happy at the end of the day. So,
but that the initial communication part is tricky, because especially if you don't know a client, then you've got to figure out. A lot of times people think it's just ask the same basic questions and you'll figure it out. But every client's different. Every person is different. And and then you have to figure out, what do they really want? What are they saying? And is that what they really mean?
Yeah, there's always a lot of feeling out, especially when you first meet a certain client. You got to figure out, what do they want when they say this? What do they want when they say this? What are they expecting time-wise and that sort of thing?
Well, like, for example, we want this to have a green interface. Okay. You give them a green interface. And then they go, oh, you know what? We like it better red.
Right. You have to find out what their purpose is, what their goals are, what their objectives are. And sometimes they're thinking over here and you bring them back over this way. And that's exactly what they were trying to tell you. They just didn't know how to explain it.
Yeah, and it's a tough one. It's
a tough one. It is. And then sometimes you get these people who are just like, this is what I want. It's a deal breaker. Get it done. Even though you don't agree, it's the client. So you have to just always deliver sometimes what they want and not always what you think is better for them.
Right.
So that's a few of our challenges. Lately, that's one or two of the challenges we've been facing. It's, this is our way, or, and what do you do? Well, you have to deliver it.
And it's always good to document everything along the way, because sometimes that will come back and bite you if they go, well, no, we said from the beginning we wanted it green. We did green, and then we went red, purple, blue, and now we're back to green. I'll tell you one thing we do. A lot of times we save every comp we ever make, because it may come back to haunt them.
Right,
so we keep all of the graphics, we keep all the colors, because you never know where it's going to go. Yeah. And things evolve, like everything else in the world. The hardest projects are the ones that evolve midway. Yeah, you're almost done. The projects that evolve midway.
Midway, yeah.
Those are tough, because you're halfway through. It's already been written. You may have even gone to voiceover. Nah, you know what? We forgot to say this. And wait, we also forgot to say that. Okay.
We had that just recently on a project that we were doing. It was, as far as we were concerned, we had delivered it. It was complete. And then they decided that they were going to review it. We didn't know they were going to review it. And there was a whole lot of changes to the content. The questions need to be rewritten, and it just extended the project longer. And then the more they reviewed it, the more changes. And then they were looking at the video content, and this was all approved in the beginning, and now we're backtracking and making changes. And they wanted it one way, and then they made all these changes going forward, and that was difficult. That was really hard. And once you shoot those videos, to go back and reshoot or to rewrite scripts, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of pickup.
It's a lot of money too sometimes.
It's a lot of money. It's a lot of pickup, and to just readjust the whole project, it's time consuming. And then it ends up overlapping in other projects that you have to deliver. So those ones are really discouraging sometimes.
Those are fun. And it is tough trying to figure out, especially when it comes to media. Well, it's tough to get the clients, and we're very clear, and they usually kind of nod their heads yes. That doesn't mean they understand you. It just means they're listening to you. The eyes open up. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes there's just an inherent quality of, especially in visual media, where people a lot of times don't know what they want until they see it, or they kind of see it. So a lot of times you've already started making it, and that's when they realize, well, actually what I was telling you doesn't really work. So we're going to change it to do what you suggested earlier, or there's like some other way.
And again, that's what causes prices to go up. A lot of times people go, why does eLearning cost so much? It doesn't cost that much, but there's so many variables. And with all those variables, you have to kind of go higher than lower. If you go lower, you're going to eat it. If you go higher, you're trying not to gouge. You've got to find that balance where both sides are happy and nobody feels like they've gotten gouged, because you don't want to gouge people. But on the other hand, you also don't want to lose your shirt on something, because it's way beyond. And of course, there's always you give and take. On some clients, you'll give and take, and that's fair. Especially the more work you do with someone, you tend to give more, or rather than take more, and it works well. But there's always that. Okay, we've done voiceover 3 times. We're going to have to charge you now. Oh,
I know.
Okay. And you can't do it for free because voiceover, while not being that expensive sometimes, it depends on the voice talent. You may have a voice talent that's very expensive and another one that isn't. And I've gotten quotes that, for an hour of e-learning that range from $150 an hour to $2,000 an hour.
Right.
Now, are they any better or worse at $2,000? No, they're not usually. It's just what they think they can get. And so that's another part where you have to be careful with when you bid on these things. How much is it really going to cost, and how much? We've had some that
studio time. When you're doing videos, studio time is very expensive. Well, and then when you have to do reshoots or retake, or you forgot something, or they did, or they wanted to add things in. I mean, those get really expensive, and it's happened to us with clients. They've wanted changes, and it's like, okay, but you're going to pay the bill at the end of the day because we can't always absorb the cost, or they want these big projects and they want them done in 4 weeks. So that means to deliver on time, you've got to hire more staff to be able to make those deadlines. And again, that increases costs.
And the e-learning market, the media market, e-learning is definitely part of the, it's a training market, but it's also a media market. People forget that. Yeah. And what happens with media? Let's say, for example, you have videos, like you mentioned, you had some videos in one of your courses. So you have videos. Now the Spielberg syndrome comes out. Now the person who sits there doing accounts payable or whatever is now saying, could you change the lighting a little bit so it's I don't like the contrast. The Rembrandt lighting just isn't right. Can we change? What kind of lights are you using? Are those Aries? Huh? And so now it's a whole new ball game. It's like, wait a minute.
Well, and I think that does tend to happen where when a project goes to reviews, at some point you start realizing, well, it's actually this one person that's coming out with most of the feedback that has to be changed or whatever. So it's like...
And if anybody's watching out there...
you have to ask them, really, are you just being picky, or will the changes really affect the outcome of the course? Is all of that, will that course be any different if we keep the changes or if we make the changes, right? So a lot of times you've got these little picky things, and it's like changing one sentence in a quiz question. It doesn't change the answer, and it doesn't change the test or the question itself, right? You still are, learning at that point. So
we call that,
and we find that an awful lot.
Yeah, we call that wordsmithing. They wordsmith. They wordsmith until you die. It's and it's funny. Sorry, we had one client who, and we know him very well. We worked with him for about 18 years, so we knew him very, very well. And he was quirky, but a really nice guy. But one time he goes, "Now I want this done my way." Okay. And he said, "I don't want this particular section changed at all. That's where I wrote it. It's perfect." Okay, fine. So we redid the training. We left his section alone. So we get back to the review a couple months later. Yeah. And he goes, "Who wrote this crap? This is garbage." Well, you know what? You did. Huh? Yeah. That's what you wrote. You said it was perfect. We left it. Yeah. Can you just rewrite it? Sure. Yeah. Thank you.
Sometimes you just can't change the material either, though, right? Yeah. If the client wants what the client wants, our job is to deliver it, but to guide them into giving or creating the best content possible. But if they're that hell-bent on delivering what they want, sometimes they don't listen. And then the feedback that they get from their learners is crap. And then they come back to you and you get the crap because we didn't push hard enough up front, right?
Right. Yeah, that's funny. And it's true. So those are...
Like I said, it's tough some days, yeah.
So if you're listening to the show and you're a client, we're ranting right now. Don't take it personally. You rant about us, then now we're ranting
No,
about
because
you.
We do have good clients who get it. They
Sure.
know, and they let us do our jobs, and we do the best that we can for them. And then there's some times where you get those clients, and it's just not our industry. It's almost every industry that has, customers or clients that are good and bad. So,
Yeah.
it's not just us in our e-learning industry. It's across the board for everybody.
And again, it comes down to the kind of content that we develop is very variable prone. It's so prone to subjectivity, not objectivity.
Yeah.
And that's one of the big issues, because everybody has different taste. You can have
and you're not going to please everybody.
No, and
you're not going to please, especially the learners. Some will find it too easy, some will find it too hard, some will find it too long, some will find it too short. It doesn't meet their needs. It only meets half their needs. So it's always a moving target. It's always a moving target. You have to just kind of step back and say, it's not personal. It's content, and we delivered it, and maybe there's a part 2 to the course that we can now branch off of that and deliver something else. So you have to take a step back and just not always take it personally.
No, we always wanted to do kind of a funny course that would be something like what you just said. There's all those different types. So we said, somebody would start out saying something like, this course has been designed for many learner types. If you'd like to learn slowly, press this button.
Exactly.
So they press the button and it goes, hello, welcome to the course.
That's funny.
This course will take you 8 hours to complete. Then, if you'd like to learn quickly, press this button. You're done.
Speed it up, right? Yeah. You can be finished in 8 hours, or you can be finished in 5 minutes.
Or in 2 seconds,
2 seconds,
If you feel you already know the content, press this one. Good. And then you press it, you're fired. Oh, wait. You thought you knew to me. You're fired.
If you're too smart, then you can just skip right to the end.
That's right.
Get your complete and move on.
We did one course for a large utility company, and it was about how to maintain substations, electrical substations, which are very important because you're on a grid, and if one station goes down, it could affect other parts of the grid. So we had it so that this is from the SME. They wanted this, not us, but we thought it was a fun idea. So we implemented this. So they wanted it that if they pressed the wrong button, that shut down the grid and took out maybe 300,000 to 400,000 people. No electricity. So there was a running number that was calculated for every second. That's how many hundreds or thousands of dollars were being lost in electrical generation. So by the time it was done, it took the guy 15 minutes to figure out how to reset it correctly. That cost something like, it was like $550,000.
Wow.
And then it would switch to, you're fired. and I go, okay. I go, they really want that. He wanted to have an impact, that it's that important. You could get fired for really screwing up a whole city.
Right. Yeah.
And then the lawyers saw it and made us pull that out. The manager was happy with it, but the lawyer said, nope. Because now they're going to sue you because this is also a union job. So now the union says, you can't do that. You can't fire us just for screwing up. So there were all these issues, and it had to be pulled out, and it became kinder and gentler. But, you know, it's funny. That's what the customer wanted.
But that would have been an attention grabber for sure.
It would have. It would have.
Besides the legal component, I can see that would have been something that I would have stuck in my mind at the end of the learning lesson.
You would have remembered it.
Press this button, or you write
I saw a video one time. It was it's a famous training company. I'm trying to remember who they were right now, but they had all sorts of HR training, and this one was on interviewing skills and harassing an interviewee, or being too belligerent or something. And anyway, it started out. There's an Asian guy who walks into the room, and this big guy, he's standing and he's sitting up over this person because it looked like his desk was higher, and the guy sits down. He's starting to look like. And the guy says, well, nice to meet you, Mr. Wong. And he's getting more and more nervous. And all of a sudden, Mr. Wong is seeing this guy with lights behind him, silhouetted, going, so Mr. Wong, where did you get hired last? And he's like, no, I don't know. I wasn't sure. And he goes, what do you mean you weren't sure? and all of a sudden there's a rifle pointing at him, and he's like, ah, and he's being tortured, and then the scene comes back, and the guy's going, Mr. Wong, are you okay? Are you okay? I'm sorry, I don't know what happened. I just had a dream. But you know what? You never forgot after that scene of how not to badger somebody you're interviewing. It was all about be considerate, talk to them, don't try to intimidate people. But it was so well acted that to this day, I saw that thing over 20 years ago. I still remember it.
Right, and that's the impact, right?
Memorable.
It's a lot different. I mean, these things need to be creative too, right? Because at the end of the day, if you just throw up these boring PowerPoints, you've lost your audience. Even if you try to make them a little animated, a little, click on this hotspot, click on that. You need something, especially today where the younger generations are watching our e-learning courses, and they're so used to these dynamic videos.
Or they're gamers.
They're gamers. So you need to make them something. You can't just throw this boring content out there and expect to grab their attention. And they want to learn fast, but they want to be entertained. And that's a challenge, because then you're creating this content for all different age ranges. And the older they are, they're not so interested in the games. They like to play them, but not at the same level as the younger ones. So to find that balance. And then it doesn't apply in every topic either, right? Like, can you do a game for, let's say, accounting? That's a little bit more challenging. But so you've got to find that balance to meet the needs of everybody, and to be creative without being insulting their level of interest or intelligence. So it's fun. It's interesting. It keeps us interested because we're always trying to be more creative, more dynamic with it. But yeah, it's sometimes it's difficult to do.
And go ahead.
And I think you were talking about inserting more creativity and stuff in, and taking from what young people are paying more attention to nowadays. I think something that we've seen, and so this is definitely something that people have picked up on in the training industry, is that if we look at, for example, YouTube. YouTube has this sort of selection process of, which videos become more popular. We can see what becomes more popular, and therefore people make videos like the ones that are more popular, so they can find what's more effective and what's not. And
peeing cats.
There are a lot. Well, there's stuff like that, but there are quite a lot. There's quite a lot of what is essentially training on YouTube, and what you see people have moved over to over the years is that people want two things. They want to have the overall thing is they want to have they want to feel a personal connection. So they like to hear the person's voice. So they like to hear a voice talking to them, and they like to see a person. Like if you look over the years, more and more people on YouTube have switched over to having sections where you see them talking to you. So I think we've kind of got that in the training industry, where you have more and more use of video, which has also come because it's become more practical to deliver video bandwidth wise, and in terms of how powerful computers and that sort of thing.
Yeah, in most countries, it's easy access. But I also notice people like especially when you go on YouTube to learn something very fast, I think they also like the person on the other end showing them their personal experience or their personal struggle to understand or to do something. Yeah. And you can connect with them a lot better than just having somebody throw out all this content because you have the knowledge, they don't, and there's a disconnect. So when people are on YouTube and they're learning these things, they feel that human to human, I struggled, now you're going to help me fix things. And I think that's why YouTube is just booming. I mean, I think I've ran out of YouTube. I think I've seen everything possible on YouTube. I'm a YouTube junkie.
Same here.
And I scroll through it and I enjoy it, and I learn what I need to learn, and I learn it fast. Yeah. And so our e-learning has to kind of be that dynamic in order to keep the attention of the learners.
There's a new trend on YouTube I find really irritating. And that's, you get into a video and oh, hi, I didn't know you were going to join me. Yeah. It's like, really? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a forced kind of.
And they're all doing it. It's like, what is with this? Oh,
Yeah, it's like
hi.
those video blogs.
Yeah,
Yeah, those
yeah.
are sometimes annoying, but
It's like
They're trying to
yeah.
give you the feeling of like you just walked into a
you
friend's
walked
house or
into them.
something like that.
Yeah.
But it comes off to me a little forced.
Maybe
Yeah.
we should take our e-learning to TikTok. Who knows? Maybe we should do
TikTok.
e-learning little 30-minute TikTok things on a little topic, right? Find a topic and just TikTok.
How long? I have not been on TikTok. How long can TikTok videos be? I thought they were
I have
short.
no idea.
They're short. I think it's up to a minute. Or
Up
30
to only a minute.
but
Okay.
most are way
yeah,
shorter.
they're very short, but talk about micro learning.
Yeah.
We did
Wow.
And I mean, the other thing we were mentioning was, that young people like games. However, I think that the gamification thing in learning, I think there's more risk there than people realize, because games are a little more, when you add game elements, you run the risk of either your game elements don't connect too well with what you're actually trying to teach, or maybe it's just hard for some people to figure out. Maybe people don't. It might be harder for some people to realize what it is they're supposed to do, and then just become frustrated. And then you
also you brought up earlier, we've got, I don't know, 4 or 5 generations at work at the same time,
Yeah.
probably more than ever. And so you've got old timers who don't want to play video games.
Yeah.
Maybe you have some to do. You've got young people who play video games and some don't. But it's hard to find that balance between, I've seen e-learning that's like, press on the duck. What is the duck doing? Quack, quack. Oh, that was really exciting.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
You pressed on the duck. That's the duck you wanted to press on. It's like, oh, God. That's slow. And how many times you have to tell somebody, click next to continue. Click next to continue.
next. Yeah.
Click next to continue.
You have to take into consideration too, when we're designing these things, we have to look at the whole world.
Mm-hmm.
We can't just look at North America. We are designing for people in Africa and their language skills or their internet band or the devices that they're using. So can we design these type of games for an iPhone? Nope. I can't imagine you constantly. I can't walk in text. I can't sit in text. I can't imagine learning something on my phone where I'm trying to play these games to learn stuff. It's so, again,
actually,
even though it's a good idea, it doesn't apply in every circumstance.
Actually, Terry, have you ever downloaded? We have an iPhone app. We have a couple of iPhone apps, 3 of them, I think. Anyway, it's called eLearning Zen.
No.
If you go to, it's free. It's free. So if you go to your iPhone, just download eLearning Zen. We did this about probably 10, 15 years ago, which is fun. And so we put it up as an app, and it's all about, e-learning and the Zen of e-learning. You might find it funny. It's been downloaded by a lot of people, but it's just one of those kind of dumb, funny things. But take a look at it.
I'll check it out. I have no idea. Never heard of it before. So.
And then what else do we have? We have the e-learning
e-learning tips.
E-learning tips. So we've got about 6. I think there's 50 or 60 e-learning tips. And we did those probably about 10, 15 years ago too, and they're still valid. They still apply for the most part. There's a couple that maybe refer to an old product or something, but other than that, they're all pretty valid today. And some things don't change much.
No.
But it's funny because we looked at the whole world and kind of going, maybe e-learning should be like a Zen thing. For example,
I wish it was a Zen thing for us designing it, because sometimes I don't feel Zen when I'm designing it. I'm frustrated sometimes. I'm, just want to get these projects over with, but I'm not Zen in a lot of times.
You've heard that saying, what is the sound of one hand clapping? It's an old Zen saying. So I remember when I was doing martial arts when I was younger, and I went up to my teacher and I asked, what's the sound of one hand clapping? And he smacked me on the face so fast. And I went, got it. Thank you.
Got it. I was going to say that, but I thought I didn't want to put that out there live. So
that's because you're Scottish Italian. That's the first thing. Oh, bam!
Well, that was my first thought. Is like, that's somebody getting smacked.
And it worked. It worked. Here I was coming up with this mystical koan that I had read about. I go, let's see what he says. Bam! Got it. Okay, thanks. So, yes, that kind of thing. Anyway,
we're-
well, we
I
are
think
just
we've
about
done
out
something.
of time. I think we're actually over time, aren't we?
No, we're not yet.
Oh, we're
actually.
not. Okay, I'm looking.
But
Back.
we are about
That
at
went
it.
fast.
It goes fast.
Yeah, it goes
It goes
fast.
fast.
It was fast. Yeah, I know. It's like
On your second visit, we torture you. And the first one, we just make you feel like you had a good time. The second one, then the torture
Sure,
happens.
I was worried. I was like,
this
what are
show
we
is-
going to talk about? What, I'm trying to, in my mind, I'm trying to think, don't go on too much of a rant, but, I have a lot to say, but keep it clean the first time. So I may be invited back.
Oh, you're always invited back. I mean, look, I've just gone on 412 times last year. So, I mean, you're always invited back. I think Ajay likes being on shows and TV.
He does. No, he definitely does.
I mean, he always has interesting stuff to talk about, too.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I think he's covered almost everything, right?
Yeah. And
Maybe next time I'll get him to come on. We'll come on together. How's that?
Okay, that'd be interesting.
We'll come on together and then we'll pick a side and then we'll beat each other up over it.
We'll get you some protective equipment. You can just go for it. Anyway, well, Terry, we appreciate you coming on the show. As always, fun.
Thank you very much for having me.
If anybody wants to get a hold of you, it's Central Knowledge. Go to CentralKnowledge.com and you can contact them there. They do a lot of custom work and two great people. And I think you'll enjoy working with them. So anyway, again, thanks for coming on, and we will see you next time. And we're going to see Ajay, I think, in about another couple of weeks. We've got Joe Conchi coming on, and I think Ajay's going to co-host on that one. So that should be fun. Well, anyway, and if
thank
you're
you so much for having me.
Oh, our pleasure. And
it was nice to meet you, Harold.
Nice to meet you too, Terry.
Yeah, and if you're watching the show, please subscribe, give us feedback, and if you want to get a hold of Teresa, you can find her on, is it Teresa Kirkwood on LinkedIn?
Yes.
Yep, there you go.
On LinkedIn, yes. Yep.
Have a good one, everyone. Perfect. Thanks.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.